Hi, Susan. I'm not sure if people were able to hear you. No, I still can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Is that better?
That's much better. Lovely to hear you. Thank you.
Sorry, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hopefully you managed to use a break to get some good networking and to speak to some other attendees here. Next up, we've got 3 sessions from 3 great speakers around life lessons from engineering. And the first session will be hosted by Amelia Lewis, who is a performance engineer from McLaren Racing. She works closely with race and simulator drivers to maximise the performance of the McLaren Formula One car every lap, every session and every season. She joined McLaren on the university graduate scheme after completing her master's in mechanical engineering at the University of Bath. In her current role, she analyses car telemetry to drive setup decisions both in the simulator and on track. In addition to her work within McLaren, she also runs the Female Engineer Instagram account, so go and have a look at that when you get a chance. And here she uses her platform to educate and encourage other women into motorsport. Welcome, Amelia, and looking forward to hearing your session.
Thank you so much, Susan. Hopefully everyone can hear me as well. Anyone on the chat, please let me know if you can't. And I will be using the chat function. We have some polls as well throughout the session. So I'd love this to be as interactive as it possibly can using this fantastic platform. So I'm going to put up my presentation now. So bear with me 1 minute. Okay, hopefully that is clear for everybody. If not, hopefully somebody will come in and tell me. But as Susan said, my name is Amelia Lewis and I'm a performance engineer at McLaren Racing. And thank you so much for having me here at the conference, and thank you to everybody here who signed on and has joined this session to hear me speak. And hopefully in these next 20 minutes, you're going to learn a little bit about how I got here and some of the things that I've learned along the way. There is going to be a Q&A at the end of this session. So if you've got any questions, please be ready with them and we can go through them at the end of the session. So performance engineer, what exactly is that? Well, it means that I spend most of my days looking at squiggly lines on a computer screen, very similar to this one. This is actual race data from a few years ago now. And essentially what I'm trying to do is understand what these squiggly lines mean and understand how we can go quicker than our competitors, how we can go quicker than the other driver in the other garage, and maximize our performance. My mentor also recently mentioned to me that I am defined more than just my job. So with that in mind, I'm also an avid baker. I really enjoy sewing, and I am 100% convinced that dogs are better than people. So here you go, have some dog tags. If nothing else out of this 20 minutes, you've seen 3 pictures of dogs. So I think that's pretty great. But I got into engineering from a relatively early age, even if I didn't realize it was called engineering. But I always really loved maths and physics. I loved working out how things worked. I loved solving problems. So that me on that right-hand picture, that's me playing 3D chess, not 3D chess, 3D noughts and crosses, dressed in a fairy princess costume. And I think that pretty much sums up my childhood. I also was really keen on Lego. Apparently I wasted one of the some film in my dad's camera to take a picture of this Lego spaceship that I built that I was especially proud of. And I was always really fascinated with planes at this age. And when I started to think about what I might want to do when I was older, I thought being a pilot sounded really cool. So sorry for this nightmare-inducing Photoshop, but this is pretty much what I pictured. Little 10-year-old me, I thought being a pilot would be really, really cool. And the more I got into kind of the idea of being a pilot, and I was looking at forums and I was looking at different websites about how to go about being a pilot. One of the bits of advice that it gave me was that you kind of need to make sure you've got something to fall back on if you ever fail a medical or anything similar. It's really good to have some education or a degree or something that you can fall back on. And looking at that, one of the the kind of natural degrees for me that seemed to make sense was looking at aerospace engineering. And the more I looked into that, the more I kind of understood what engineering was all about, the more I thought, that sounded pretty cool. So I went from kind of picturing myself as a pilot, picturing myself as a bit more of an engineer. I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. Can work on planes, planes are cool, but working on spacecraft, I mean, that sounds even cooler. And it was about this age when I was in college when I got some work experience. I was very fortunate that I lived very local to Rolls-Royce in Derby, and I was able to secure a few weeks work experience over the summer there to understand what an aerospace engineer does. And I also completed some week-long taster sessions at universities to understand what studying engineering was as well. And that really sold me on it. I was really convinced aerospace engineering was absolutely for me. I wanted to be designing and working on spacecraft and working on aeroplanes. And then in my first year of university, I'm not sure if anybody has had similar events at their universities, but I went to Bath and they put on an event with McLaren Racing where they came in and they gave a talk all about the careers available at McLaren Racing. And I was sat there in one of the lecture halls with one of the McLaren Formula One cars sat at the front. And I realized, like, why had I never thought about this before? Like, I've always loved Formula One. I've always watched it with my dad. Why didn't I realize I could be a race engineer? And I thought, you know what? Cars are cool. Planes are cool. Spaceships are cooler. But I think race cars are probably even cooler than that. And I thought that would be the absolute most amazing job in the world. So here I am at the University of Bath, sat in this lecture hall, learning all about how cool it could be to work for a Formula One team. But I never really thought that that was something that realistically I could do. One of the big things about the University of Bath I really loved, and one of the reasons I went there, was that they had a really big focus on placement years. And I'd signed up to do a placement year after my second year of study. And so when I was starting my second year of study, the application started opening. And the very first application that opened was at Williams F1. And I thought, well, obviously I'm never going to get a job at Williams F1, but it's the very first application that's open. And so, do you know what? I'm going to apply for that one because it will mean I'll have to get my CV sorted. And it will be just really good experience to kind of see what the application process is about. So I was really surprised then when I got an email saying they wanted to invite me to interview. I thought, well, you know what? Obviously, I'm never going to get it, but it'll be really good interview experience to go do this. So let's go do that. And then when I got the phone call saying that I'd got one of the placements, I was absolutely gobsmacked. I honestly never believed that I was capable of working in a Formula One team. But here I was doing my year in industry at Williams F1. Now, it's actually at this point on my placement year that I decided to switch from aerospace engineering to mechanical engineering. And that was one of the things that my degree allowed me. Anytime up until I started studying my third year, I was able to switch between the different engineering disciplines. So at that point, I switched to mechanical engineering as I decided that I wanted to keep my options slightly more broad than maybe I had done. So then when I get back to university in my third year of study, I've got all this ambition and I've got all of this confidence around motorsport. So for me, it was very natural that I joined a Formula student team at Bath, which is Team Bath Racing. And because I'd done the placement at Williams, I also had a lot of confidence in myself and my ability that allowed me to push for one of the leadership positions, which was chassis manager. And I think without the confidence that I got from that placement year, I'm not sure that I would have gone for that. But I had a great time. I absolutely loved Formula Student, and we were really successful in our year as the team. And it kind of gave me just more and more confidence every time that, you know, this was maybe something I could do. So then comes to finishing my degree and looking for what I'm going to do after I finish. And McLaren had the graduate scheme that just looked absolutely amazing. Working at McLaren, which is obviously a company with a huge amount of recognition and a huge amount of history behind it, but also on a rotational scheme, which allowed me to move across all different areas of engineering. I got to spend time in design, aero, strategy, vehicle performance, and even some areas outside of engineering. So things like marketing, I spent some time in inspection and logistics. So I got a really well-rounded idea of what it meant to be working within an F1 team. And it was amazing. All this time, all through these, I was building my confidence more and more, to when I got the placement, I got confirmed that I'd been offered one of the places at McLaren on the graduate scheme. It just felt like this is right, this is where I was meant to be. But it wasn't always like that. I definitely felt times when maybe I didn't belong. And even on my first day at McLaren, I do remember thinking, oh, do you know what, if I get to the gatehouse and they turn me around because they say, oh no, we didn't mean to hire you, I wouldn't have been entirely surprised. And this has got a name, imposter syndrome. And this is when you believe that you didn't really deserve something. You feel like a bit of a fraud. Now, one of the polls, which you should be able to see on the right-hand panel, is have you ever felt this? It'll be really great if all of you can put in that poll whether or not this is something that you felt before, this idea that maybe you don't belong there, you didn't earn it. And so this for me was things like rechecking my contract that had come through, making sure that I didn't just dream it. And like I said, turning up at the gatehouse thinking they might turn me away because they didn't mean to hire me. But, you build your own confidence. The longer you're in a job, the more you feel at home. And so then 2 years into my time at McLaren came an amazing opportunity for me, which gave me the opportunity to race engineer for W Series alongside my role with McLaren. And this was the ability to get some more trackside experience, where it's very difficult to get that trackside experience within an F1 team. So McLaren allowed me the opportunity to go and do 2 races with W Series to be a race engineer. And this for me was absolutely fantastic. It's a series that I had a lot of respect for. Working with other women in motorsport was something which really appealed to me. And I was so excited. Race engineering was, the dream that you have when you realise that you can work in F1, and to be able to achieve that at that stage in my career was huge for me. So I got there to the first event, and I was really excited because I was paired with a Belgium driver for the Belgium event, which was Sarah Bovey, and she was one of the reserve drivers, but had been working really hard in the earlier races and was showing that she was really competitive and that she could do a decent job. So I was paired with Sarah. I was so excited going into my first sessions doing race engineering, and was going really well. We had a few issues. We had some stuff on the tyres we needed to work on, but generally going pretty great. And then we got into qualifying. And then I had literally the worst session of my entire career so far. This is the qualifying positions for the Belgium W Series race. You can see all the names going down here. And then right at the bottom there was my driver, Sarah Bovey. And it was all my fault. I'd made the wrong call. I'd sent my driver out at the wrong time on the wrong tyres, and I'd ended up putting my driver dead last at her home Grand Prix, and I was devastated. And all I could think was, this is all my fault. I thought I was such an embarrassment. I thought W Series will ask me to leave. McLaren will never want me back. I'll never be allowed to go trackside again. And I thought, I've ruined my one chance. And so my driver came back into the paddock. We had a chat. I tried to psych her up. I tried to tell her, there's no points for qualifying. Like, we'll get them tomorrow in the race. And then I went and found the closest toilet, closed the door, wept, and sent this actual WhatsApp to my boyfriend. And I honestly thought, this is it. I don't know why I thought I could do this. This is just so beyond me. I felt stupid for even thinking that I could do it. Just to add a bit of lightness, this is what I felt like. I felt like Joe Exotic at that time. I thought, I'm never going to professionally recover from this. And I knew that imposter syndrome was one of the things I wanted to talk about in this presentation, because I think it's something that's not always spoken about, and sometimes it can feel quite alienating if you feel like you're the only one who's feeling this. But doing my research here for this, I found that actually imposter syndrome is a lot more common amongst women, and especially amongst women who are working in traditionally male-dominated areas and space. And it got me really questioning, like, well, why could that be? And other times that I felt like maybe I don't belong, or I wasn't deserving of a role, even when maybe things were going well. And this is the next poll. I'm going to put some comments up that I've have been said to me directly. And if anyone else has had any comments that have been similar said to them, can you put in the second poll if you have or if you haven't? So I've been told, the classic one, you don't look like an engineer. Maybe they mean it as a compliment, but it's really not. I've been told the only reason I got a job was because I was a woman. I've actually been told there's too many women in F1, which I can assure you there aren't. I got told, I don't need to put the effort in. I'll just get hired because I'm a girl. And I've been told, well, loads of women have tried, but they've not made it. And my personal least favourite, which is emails that start hi gents, which I do now respond to and let them know that sign it from Amelia, not a gent. So, sometimes these comments, they can really take their toll. And, in isolation, it might not seem like much, but when you have a lot of them, it can really start to pile up. It starts to become bigger than your dreams, can start to become bigger than your passion, and start to become bigger than you. But I'm here to tell you today that you don't need to feel like that. And I want to tell you that you absolutely do look like an engineer. I'm here to tell you that the opportunities that you have are because you have worked hard and because you deserve them. I'm here to tell you that you're needed and that your skills are desperately needed. And that because you put in the hard work and effort, you will get what is deserving to you. And I'm here to tell you that you are just as deserving as every other engineer that has come before you. And not just do I need you to know this, but for me and for you, but actually the world also really needs you to know this. I googled what the biggest issues in the world today are, and apparently this is what the leading experts think are the biggest challenges or the biggest threats to modern society. And I looked at this list, and it does look pretty heavy. But I thought, these are all problems, but to me this has a pretty common solution. To me, all of these problems seem like they could probably be solved with some engineering as part of the problem. And if we have all of these issues and we're only utilising half of the population to be engineers, then we're not going to be solving these problems. So I need you to know that you are absolutely deserving to be here, and we need you here because we need you to solve these problems. I don't need to harp on to you guys about the benefits of a diverse team. It is well documented, well researched, that a more diverse team is a more successful and more profitable and a better team. So as you being part of that team, I am so confident that these problems are going to be solved so much better and so much quicker. So I want to leave you now with 3 bits of advice that I wish I had at your age. This first one, I am still absolutely working on this one. You will never be perfect. And, I'm still accepting this as myself, but I think it's something that I need to tell myself and I need to tell everyone here listening as well. My second one is don't listen to criticism from someone that you wouldn't go to advice. Now, constructive criticism is absolutely essential for development and growth. But sometimes there's a difference between somebody constructively criticizing you and someone who's just trying to tear you down. And I think it's really important that you learn to know the difference between those two and learn where to spend your energy and who to spend your energy on. And my third one is buy yourself the flowers. Now, this doesn't actually need to be physically the flowers, although in my case it is. I do buy myself flowers every fortnight, but sometimes it's knowing that you can have what you need within yourself. You don't need somebody else to do something for you. You don't need permission from somebody else. If you want to go for a promotion, you can do that without being encouraged by your boss. If you want to get some more experience, like, you can do that for yourself. You don't necessarily need someone to do that for you. So that is what I'm going to leave you with today, is to buy yourself the flowers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amelia. I'm not on mute this time, am I?
You're not.
Thank you for that. It was super interesting, and I'm in awe because I have to say, someone's described my driving as driving Miss Daisy. Like, I'm probably driving. So well done for being so passionate about what you do. I think that's lovely. If people have got questions for Amelia, if you want to put them in the chat, then I will. Lots of applause coming in there, Amelia. You don't have to buy yourself flowers. You have to clap yourself now because other people are doing it. while we're waiting for those questions to come in, I've got a question.
Sure.
So at the beginning, you were talking about applying for your placement, and you went for the F1 one because you're like, oh well, let's just see how this goes. And you know, I have a very similar experience. Like my first job, I applied because it was the shortest application form. Like, I'm just going to do that one, and actually got the job. How much do you think then reframing how you viewed that opportunity allowed you to then relax and actually perform at your best? Have you taken that and then used it elsewhere to just say, right, let's not, you know, extrapolate, you know, where I am in the process now to make it a really scary thing. Let's just do it one step at a time. I don't really care about it. I'm going to use it for this purpose, and then you can perform better. How have you used that since?
I think it would be great to be able to. I think part of my issue is I can definitely kind of like care too much about things. And, you know, even though when I was applying, I thought there's no chance I'm going to get this, there was still that kind of like expectation that I'd built within myself that like, oh, but you should, like, if you don't, then you failed. You know, there's still that little voice in my mind that will be telling me that. But I tried to turn that into a positive instead, because rather than like, if you don't, you fail, I use it as like a, oh my gosh, like how amazing is it that you're even in this position to apply? Like, I try to build myself up instead with the pressure. And I think especially working within F1 it can be really high pressure in certain instances, and being able to take that pressure and kind of twist it positively in whatever way works for you is, I think, really important.
Yeah, great. Good. We've got lots of questions coming in now. So Georgia Bailey has asked, how did you find the transition from the industrial placement student into a graduate position?
Yeah, it's quite different. I think as well, because when I did my industrial student placement, I was actually a stress engineer, so working in a very different area than I am now. And it was 1 year in that area, and I got very comfortable. I knew what I was doing, and I knew I was pretty good at what I was doing as well. And then when I came into being a graduate engineer on the graduate scheme, you're moving departments every 6 months. And it's literally, I always say to any new graduates we get in, like, you will feel constantly like you've just got to your comfort zone and you'll be pushed out of it again. And it's actually really quite draining for 2 years, constantly being bad at something, or constantly being the new person, or constantly having to learn it for the first time. It can be quite overwhelming. And I think that was the big thing for me, going from an industrial placement to on the graduate scheme, was that there wasn't the opportunity for me to kind of like settle down and get comfortable in a role. It was only then when I finished the graduate scheme and I got a role within vehicle performance in my current role as a performance engineer, that I had chance to kind of settle down and go, right, now is my chance to do my job and do it well.
Do you think though that was the purpose of those placements, was for you to be the best one? Or do you think actually, you know, coming in, your role, you know, for those placements is not to learn everything and be the best, actually is absorb everything you can and then move on? Like, no, maybe those expectations you have of yourself are not what everyone else has got of you.
Oh, definitely. I think I always place quite high expectations on myself. And, you know, even going into like the W Series race, there's that little part of me that's got that kind of Disney ending in my head of like, oh, imagine if like all of a sudden we win. Like, there's always that little part of me that will kind of like expect the absolute most perfect outcome to happen. And so I think that is something I really did have to adapt to on the graduate scheme, is being okay with not being the best. I think is something I really had to learn to do.
And it's fine to not be the best. I think if we come in with the expectation that we won't be the best in the room at that point in time, you can just concentrate on learning. There's loads of questions in here. We've only got 3 minutes left, which I'm conscious of. So we've probably just got time for one more. I'd encourage everyone else, if I don't get to your question, which is probably going to be the case, to get in touch with Amelia. Is that okay, Amelia? I was going to, you know, people have got your Instagram
no
handle.
problem.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think there's a lot of questions that I think I can
Mhm.
theme up into how do you make yourself more resilient in these situations where you feel lack of confidence, or maybe you're getting those sort of comments from people. You've only got 2 minutes though.
Yeah. I think it's something that I've had to put a lot of time and effort into, and it's not easy. It's been a process. You know, I've been here as a graduate now for 5 years, and I still have the point now where sometimes like comments obviously still do get to me, but I'm in a very fortunate position now where I'm comfortable enough in my role that I will call people out on them. And also the people around me know that I'm not going to stand for those comments. And one thing I've been really working on is encouraging the males around me that say, you know, I want to help, what can I do? I tell them the most important thing you can do for me is call people out when they make those comments. And that way it's not all on me. And it gives me the appreciation that that's one person out of a room of 50 and everybody else is on my side. So sometimes it's realizing that you don't need all that resilience to come from you. If you can ask for help from
You've
other
got crew.
people, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice. And are you happy to pick up some questions if people get in touch with you outside of this?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Definitely. So the only thing is, through this conference today, I'm actually running in the simulator with Lando today, so I might not be around on this platform today, but please do send any messages through on Instagram, and I do answer those. And I've got some highlight stories on there as well, which answer some general questions of how I got into my role. And I also just wanted to touch on before I go, the fact that I think everybody else on here can see the poll results, and I want everyone to realize that you're not alone in this. You're not alone in feeling like an imposter, and you're not alone in having these comments. It doesn't mean that it's okay, but sometimes for me, it's important to know that I'm not isolated in here, and you know, we've got this fantastic network.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amelia.
No problem.
Good luck with everything, and
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Amelia. And great questions coming in. Do get in touch. I'll put the Instagram in the chat in a second, Naomi. But because we're on such a tight schedule, I do have to now make sure. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Amelia. She's done it for me. Get on there and have a look. Sounds like she's got some really great stuff to share. And I think I just echo what Amelia said around the fact that, you know,